Okay, today my name is Jennifer Drinka. I'm here with the Antioch Public Library District with Robert D. Wunderling. The date is May 8th, 2025, and we are sitting in the studio of the Antioch Public Library District. This interview is being conducted for the Library of Congress Veterans History Project. And Robert, I know you as Bob. Can I call you Bob?
Oh, yeah, most certainly.
Okay, so Bob, where were you born?
I was born in Melrose Park, Illinois, west side of the city. Grew up in Maywood, Illinois, adjacent little small industrial town. So, right due west of the city.
Who were your parents and what were their occupations?
My mother was Dorothy Wunderling, homemaker supreme. She did do some work outside of the house at a local drugstore. I'm not really sure what it was, but that was the era of the stay-at-home mothers primarily. So I remember her just as being a stay-home mom. My dad was an agent for the Railway Express Agency. From the time he came out of the service, he said he went to work there for a couple of days and never left. So we were all right in that same little area of Maywood.
And what did your dad do in the service?
My dad was a truck driver. Never spoke a heck of a lot about it, but he drove the tank trucks. He was over in Europe in the 8th Air Force, 8th Army Air Corps, before there was ever an Air Force. He drove tank trucks from apparently the depots, the large depots or the docks, right onto the airfields. We see the tank trucks, the semi-trucks today. He was a truck driver for that operation, that kind of work. So he'd been a driver forever.
And did you have any siblings?
Just a sister. I don't want to talk about my brother. Just a
Okay.
sister, Virginia, and she's a little younger. So.
And what were your parents or your sister's feelings about you joining the service?
Well, I think nobody was really too happy about it. I did get drafted. I got a draft notice, so that was before I enlisted. Well, I get draft notice and you had a chance to enlist or go over and be a grunt. So. My dad was, I don't want to say happy, but he understood that I was taking that path. And my mom was like every other mom, just scared out of her mind. And my sister was, well, she was a hippie at the time, so it's really hard to think what was really in her mind. Yeah.
What primary or secondary schools or college did you attend?
Excuse me. Congress now hears me cough. Mm-hmm. I had started going to Triton College out of high school. I was in the first year studying law enforcement. I was planning on going and making a career in law enforcement at that time. And then, like I say, Uncle came around and drafted me, and he sent me on a whole different route. So.
And then what kind of jobs did you hold prior to entering the military?
Your normal teenage jobs. Primarily, I worked in a machine shop, a place called Buckley Engineering, 1111 Fulton Market in the city. Back then, it was an old marketplace. Today, it's multi-million-dollar condos. But I was kind of like a shop boy. We were still doing a lot of machining. They had the old machinists there that really laid out work and made tool and die equipment. Learned a lot there. Learned a lot about vision and being able to view abstractly this block of steel that was sitting on the bench, of how it was going to end up, a couple of weeks later being ground down and polished to be a tool to make a frame of gamma stat. It was good work, hot work, hard work. It was worth it.
How old were you when you started working there?
Probably 14 or so, 14, 15. I was pretty young. It was, the neighbor was the foreman of the plant. And back, I said, we worked in a working class area, so all the fathers looked after all the other sons, and if you had a chance to work at a plant, you worked at a plant. If you were good at it, you did it. This was just ahead of the. It was kind of the apprenticeship program before it was really an honest to goodness quotes. Apprenticeship. So did that. Excuse me, got the frog. Right after high school, I was fortunate enough to get a job with the telephone company, Illinois Bell, and did a lot of work there and worked my way up there. So did a lot there. Came back from the service and went there. But I'm sure you'll ask about that later.
Now, I'm just curious, could you tell me more about your mom? I'm just curious about what she might have cooked, what day-to-day life was like with her. I'm just interested.
Oh, okay. Let me preface this by, I didn't understand how broke we were until I was out on my own. How really, it sounds bad to say how poor we were, because there was always food on the table, the clothes were always clean, everybody went to work. But there wasn't a lot of disposable income, I guess they'd call it today. So my mom basically, I remember her with the washing machines, with the wringers and things, and hanging clothes out in the backyard. Backyard's kind of a funny statement, because we lived in a 3-story walk-up on the west side, and there were probably 18, 20 units, maybe more in this building. It was a rather large building. And the girls, they had their day for the laundry down in the laundry tubs and the wringers and things. And then they'd hang them up at the clothes between the porches and go out in the backyard. It wasn't a heck of a lot of yard, but string up their clothesline. They all had their own clotheslines and stuff. And when she wasn't washing and cleaning the apartment, she was cooking and making whatever. So just basically, I don't know, the beaver cleaver mom without pearls and in a pretty dress.
Okay, so could you tell me about when you got that draft notice?
Yeah, it was in the summer, '67. Excuse me. And as I told you earlier, I was married right out of high school. That was a whole fiasco in itself, but we'll talk about that stuff later, I'm sure. It was, we're going to start this family and everything else. All of a sudden here I get a draft notice. And I was working at the phone company at that time, and pretty good, was into an apprenticeship program for what they called private branch exchange. Things like Sears Roebuck, where they put all their phones, you call Sears and then they route the call all over. I was involved with installing that stuff and maintaining it. So it was a pretty good gig and was hard to get into. So anyhow, I had that going. I had the world. I figured it was pretty much going my way. And then the friends and neighbors on the draft board called me and said, oh, by the way you're going. It was a shock. Maybe an unexpected shock. I don't want to say it. Deep down inside, I knew it was coming. It was a matter of time. Being on the west side out there, west side seemed to give up a whole bunch of men for that war. So I get this letter from my friends and neighbors at the local draft board. I go down there, knock on the door, open the door. There were no friends and neighbors in there. Son, you're going over. And voila, next thing I know, I'm in the service.
What did your new wife think?
she didn't like the idea so much, and naturally nobody really liked the idea back then. Yeah, that was just a strange period of time. I'm not certain today if she liked the idea that I could get dead or she didn't like the idea, but we had conversations about that later on that really, it was just a product of the time. What can I tell you? You want me to expound on this stuff?
Sure. Yeah. Absolutely.
Back then, in the latter 60s, the country was very divided, especially the youth, the younger people. This was part of that hippies and all of that stuff. And either you followed your father's ways, the old ways, or you went off on this, I don't want to say leftist, but basically the leftist agenda of the free love and the this and that, and I don't have to follow the rules. So that divide became very, very meaningful for individuals. Very good friend of mine went out to be a hippie, and that was the end of it. Thought I was just lowered in whale crap because of what I did. And, quite honestly, I thought he was lowered in whale crap by running away. But that's where we started this divide that we're still living today. We're just coming out of 67, 68 today in Congress and everything we're doing. So I don't know, did I answer that question?
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, please say as much as you would like, because I love a story.
Yeah, and please feel free to ask me to expound on it. I'll do the best I can for your project here.
Thank you.
We're going back into old memories
Yes.
and things, so yeah, we'll dig in there. What's your next one there, Jennifer?
This one's not written on the paper, but I wasn't alive at that time. Just before you were drafted, what was the music like and the culture like in your neighborhood and in your family? You said your sister.
Well, pretty much. It was, the music culture was really pretty good. This was a period of transition in music from the old ballroom dancing type stuff that we saw in the 40s, 50s films. Benny Goodman and Glenn, I'm sorry, but that type of music that you always see following the Second World War type movies into a more rock, more of a rebellious type thing. Your Bob Dylan's and that. There was an awful lot of what we call folk music going on there, storytelling music. The Mamas and Papas were big at that. Simon and Garfunkel. Some of the greatest music came out of that era. And like I say, it was an era of transition, both in the music and how it was, one, being recorded and played, and the instrumentation they were using. It was the very early days of the electronic keyboards and stuff. Where you didn't need Bob's Big Band to put on the show. You put a few people in a recording booth, and they had a lot going on. So, good music, good time, good memories.
Did you have any favorites?
Oh, I don't know, there's a lot of them that are favorites, but I'd have to think about that. Just as we're talking, used to, Armed Forces Radio would play a playlist. Playlist was probably 2 hours or so long, maybe a little more. And every day in my line of work, we'd be not only doing our job, but that would always be in the background. So you get guys like Bring You Hell's Fire, who was that guy, crazy somebody, like Smith. Smith was a pretty good group, short-lived group. Baby, It's You. I've heard that 100,000 times in my headset. That was good. There were just a lot of them. I have to think back on them. I can hear them in my head, but I just, you know. There was one that kind of got me. And just thinking back, and this came after PTSD and a whole bunch of other stuff, but there was a song by, God, I'll have to go back to thinking of this, but Is That All There Is? And it was a song she was singing about how she lived in a farm and the farm burned down or blew away, and is that all there is? Oh, okay, fine, I went to the circus. Is that all the circus is? Let's keep partying. And a lot of that sort of stuck with me over the years. Oh, hell, is that all there is to this? You know, okay, let's go do it, you know. What the heck was her name? I know I have it. Oh, well, COVID strikes again.
I just know radio is important to you, so I like picturing you with your headset and hearing that. So when you joined the military, who did you leave behind when you left to serve?
Oh, basically my family and my wife. That was it. You know, we didn't have a large family, so it wasn't, you know, an extended, everybody sitting there crying. It was, hey, by the way, you know, you're out of here. And so it was just basically my wife and mom and dad. So.
Did you have any pets?
No, not at that time. No.
So could you tell me which branch you entered, and why, if you were able to choose, did you choose that branch?
Well, yes, I went into the Army. Now, to set kind of the timeline, everything was going on, and people were being drafted, myself included. But you usually had like a 60-day period, 45, 60 days, whatever, that you could get your stuff in order. You can go and enlist. Unfortunately, some of our people ran to Canada in a chicken shipment. But anyhow, in this month and a half, 2-month period of time, it really changed a lot of people. I mean, this was a period of time that really, for men of my age, my generation, really set the tone for what we were going to do. So let's see. I'm sorry, I'm away from the question. What was the actual?
Which branch why did you choose that branch?
Okay.
If
Well,
you were allowed to choose.
I was allowed to choose, which was pretty good. It's a long story that leads into all of my
please.
adventures in the funny lands.
Mm-hmm.
Had that, and I decided that, number one, I wasn't going to be a grunt. I didn't want any of this infantry stuff. That I was somewhat smarter than your average. I don't know, just being a smart ass, but I knew that I could do better with myself. And as I say, coming up out of a very poor family, the idea of college and that was never on the table. That was not going to happen. So, and then I was talking with an Army recruiter, and he said, "Oh, why don't you take this battery of tests?" I said, "Okay, why don't I take this?" And I forget if I went downtown Chicago for that or just how they were given. And they're aptitude tests of what you're good at, what you're very good at, what you can be good at, even if you don't know it. And scored quite high on it, apparently. So went back and talked with this recruiter again, and it wasn't that he was twisting my arm to get in. However, today I think back, yeah, he was twisting my arm, but there I am, a kid not knowing any better. And he had mentioned, he says, "Well, your scores are very, very high." And this aptitude and that aptitude and everything else. And I said, there's a place that you might fit in quite well. And he said, but it's going to take a longer enlistment. So we talked about it, and it was a thing called the Army Security Agency, ASA, which was an extremely little known organization that did radio intelligence, if you would. They monitored the enemy and tracked the enemy through their radio movements and stuff. So, lo and behold, I decided, well, this sounds better than being a grunt. And hey, that was a funny thing, though. Got to inject this. He says, don't worry, ASA is not in Vietnam. ASA does not go to Vietnam. There's a treaty against it. There's this, there's that, the other thing. He says, we got stations in Berlin and, you know, this and that, and the Pacific and all over. But don't worry, ASA doesn't go to Nam. Hey, well, that's fine with me. Come on, send me to Europe for 4 years. So, went to school, Devens, Massachusetts, Fort Devens, and did all the training there. And what do you know, I come down on orders to be transferred to the radio research unit. And as I say, the rest is history. I went from Devens to, I get to Belvoir, Virginia for a while. I had to pick up a little training in Belvoir, Virginia, right outside of Washington. From there, week or two leave, and I was on the big Freedom Bird heading over to Vietnam. Strange experience.
What did you do on your week or two leave before heading out?
Drank heavily.
Were you in Washington on leave, or did you go back home?
Back home. We were back home there. I'd come back to the Chicago area. So, yeah, that was quite a while ago.
So how did you get to that to Vietnam? So you were back in Chicago, and then how did you travel to get there?
Well, back in, we left out of Chicago. I think Indoctrination Center, downtown Chicago. We had to report there. You know, all of a sudden we were on a big bird, and we flew over from there from Chicago, I believe, to Anchorage. And Anchorage, I believe, to Yokota, Japan. Long flights, big flights. First time I really understood the Great Circle route going over it, but that's a whole different story. And then a smaller jet that brought us from, must have been Japan. And I remember we landed in Cameron Bay and deplaned there. And then were handed off to our separate units. That was an experience. I remember they opened the door on the plane, and the heat was so oppressive, it's like it ran into the plane. It's like it poured in. You know, it was just there. And it had a certain stench to it, a certain smell to it that, when you first get it, this is not a nice place. Kind of like following a garbage truck or something. And boy, this is not nice. So, anyhow, we go on from there.
What month was that?
September. February of '68. I believe February of '68.
Okay.
Right around there sometime.
And before you landed, what kind of training did they give you before you went?
Well, we went, you know, every soldier goes through basic training. Mine was at Fort Leonard Wood. I think that was 6 weeks or 2 months, whatever it was, learning military and really being conditioned. And from there, I went to an assignment at Devens, Massachusetts, where I learned how to operate and maintain some highly sensitive direction finding equipment. The ASA was doing direction finding. That's what they did, snooping and pooping. But it was a really highly classified school. I remember I had to qualify for a top secret clearance. So we get there, the clearance isn't done yet. Well, they take time as they go through. So you're on kind of a holding company where you just do whatever. They need a man for the day. Here, go work over there. Well, I'd been there a couple of weeks and minded my own business. People come, people go. I'm thinking, well, what the hell's going on? Why am I, number one, still here? Number two, did I do something wrong? You know, whatever. So after a couple of weeks, I get a call to go to the security office. Oh my God. I go to the security office. I don't understand, when you file for your clearance, it's like 6 or 8 page form. And it talks about everything. It talks about your grandparents and where they came from, and your neighbors, and your, you know, who knew who, and, you know, this entire long form. So I get called to the security office. I'm sitting there, and there's Master Sergeant, Sergeant Major, you know, whatever, top shelf sergeant. And he's sitting there and he's looking at the papers, and he asked me, well, let's see, where were you born? And said, you know, Melrose Park, you know, this and asking me just nickel dime questions. And then he'd get into something. He said, did you know your grandparents? And I said, yeah, I met them once or twice. You know. He got up some more. Do you know any of their friends? No, not really. My grandparents were, I think they had passed at that time. Well, yeah, I'm pretty sure they had passed at that time. And we go back and forth a little bit, and finally, you know me, I finally got me. I said, what are you looking for? What did I do something wrong here? And he leans back in his chair and opens the file. Now you got to understand, my grandmother and grandfather from Latvia and Lithuania, both of which at the time were communist states. I never thought about it. Where the hell are they from? So I wrote it down. Son, don't you understand that these people are from communist countries and this and that and the other? Well, I don't know. Grandma and Grandpa. You asked where they're from. I wrote it on the sheet. And about 2 days later, the clearance came through. They were really, back then, they were particular. They weren't doing the Hillary Clinton, I have a clearance. This was, you know, when I got back in, they had talked to every friend of mine and neighbors and stuff. Man, are you in trouble? Why? The FBI or this, you know, whoever. They were around asking questions about you, you know. Oh, well, you know. So, anyhow, that was my training there. And I went in and did a little more, and we all had to go to jungle training. Jungle training. That was a real farce. Devens, Massachusetts in the winter. Talking. ASA is kind of a strange thing anyhow. So we don't do anything with anybody else. It's just, oh, you guys are your guys are your guys. So here we are in Massachusetts in the winter, pretending we're in Vietnam, only 90 degrees colder, and you know, running around. And it was just, it was colossal. But that was jungle training. You know, if you got caught, you got captured, you couldn't give up the password, you couldn't do this, you couldn't do. And they played hardball. I mean, they really did. If you got caught, you got slammed around a bit. And but you can always remember they had this like an elephant out back behind some hooches, you know, stuffed elephant thing, and he had icicles hanging from him. And I'm thinking, this is realistic. This is really here we are in the snowstorm in Massachusetts, practicing to be in a jungle. What's wrong with this picture?
Do you, you've described your training, I love that story. What was the best part and the worst part of that training?
The jungle training, or just my training in general?
In general, or the jungle training. Mm-hmm.
The jungle training, there was nothing good about it. It was a joke. I mean, it just showed how screwed up the Army was. But we did learn a lot. Escape and evasion tactics and things that were taught in the classrooms. So, you know, if something did happen, you had somewhat of a chance of getting away or getting, you know, what to expect. I mean, there was a lot of classroom training on doing survival tactics and escape tactics, things of this nature. Elephant with icicles just doesn't cut it, but that's a whole different thing. That was good training. And then my electronics training that I got from the school there was fantastic. Very, very, very good training center. As you say, they peeled off, excuse me, they claim to peel off like the top third of the recruits coming through. They often says that 10 out of 100 could apply and only 3 would make it. And I guess I was one of the 3. Very good, very, very, very intense training. I knew exactly what I was doing the day I graduated as far as hardware and putting my hands on the machine. So. Am I doing right by you here?
Yes, you're doing great.
Okay.
So a little bit more about training before we get into the
Sure.
wartime. Does any particular instructor stand out in your mind?
No, I can't say that any of them. They were all pretty well top shelf people.
Okay.
Very, very secure atmosphere. It's not. It's very cookie cutter. I'm Sergeant Major Bob, and I'm going to talk to you about this, and this. And very vanilla, very structured. So none of them showed up. All of them were great. I don't remember a bad one. They were all tough people, and they were all very smart people.
Were they older than you?
Older, yeah, they were old guys. Some of them were all the way up to maybe 30. Yeah, most of them mid-20s to early 30s. That was the cream of the crop of the ASA slot there of the people who were staying in and going up, coming up, being groomed. You know, so.
Did you develop any friendships during that time?
No, not really, no.
And the guys that you were in training with, did you see them once you were in Vietnam?
Once in a while you'd bump into one or two of them. We were very segregated. They didn't say we were spooks, but they called us ghosts. We didn't wear rank quite a bit at a time. We just wore USs on our collars, so nobody knew for sure if you were an officer, if you were a civilian, if you were an enlisted man or whatever. It just, and lived in our own compounds with all the barbed wire and stuff, so they knew that those guys over there in that corner, we don't know who they are, but we're not going to mess with them. So.
What was the hardest part of this new military lifestyle for you to adapt to?
Going into the military, getting up at 4 a.m. with somebody beating on a trash can was not necessary. But not the discipline so much. I guess I've always been pretty much a military-driven person, my fathers and uncles and stuff. So once you understood that you were just a cog in the wheel and you didn't mean anything to them, and they didn't really mean a whole hell of a lot to you, that you just did what you had to do. You did your job. It is what it is. So, didn't have a hard time with that.
What was the sleeping like?
Okay, we're talking over in Asia now? Or
Yeah.
are we, okay.
I guess, yeah, you could say either. I'm
Oh, okay,
starting
yeah.
to transition maybe.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I'm just,
Or how it differed maybe when you
well,
were in
different.
training.
When
and
we
then
were
when you-
like Devon's, we were in old World War II barracks. Old wooden barracks, 2-story wood buildings. And they were tinder boxes. We had a fire watch up. Somebody pulled fire watch, was guard duty all night just to make sure nothing happened, or if anything happened, that people got out. Those were, that was basic training buildings and stuff from, like I said, the Second World War and stuff. Some people later on transitioned into almost like apartment living, but overseas in our compound, I lived in a Connex, a shipping container primarily. It was covered with sandbags. In the field, a lot of guys, they used a culvert pipe. You take a half of a culvert pipe, or a 6-foot culvert, or 8-foot culvert pipe, and they'd lay it down and then cover it with sandbags. And they slid in this round, this half-round thing, and that's where they lived, in these holes in the ground. And it could range from sleeping on the ground if you were out doing some particular duty, to being in where there was even hot showers. But for the most part, it was a combination between sort of living like a human and living like a mole. You learn to be dirty. You learn the dirt on you, the grit and all that. You know, when Mom would tell you to wash your hands before every meal, you were just glad to get something to eat. You know, when you're opening up your C rations, or we had C's back then, they were still around. And, you did what you had to do. Like I said, it is what it is. Or back then it says, it don't mean shit. It don't mean nothing. You'll hear that phrase from the vets. It is what it is. Patty Page, that was the one that did that song. Patty Page. Yeah. It is what it, is that all there is? And I guess that was just it. I'm here, let's see if I can make it through till morning.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So could you tell me where you served and describe kind of the landscape?
Okay, I came into country. Our operation ran between Saigon, a place called Ben Hoa, which is a big air base, big fighter base, and a place called Phuc Vinh. Phuc Vinh was a cross between a forward fire base and a forward hole in the ground, right up on near the Cambodian border, very, very close to Cambodia. I was up to the Phuc most of the time. I spent up the Phuc. That's where we lived, in the connexes and holes in the ground and stuff. It was in the lower lands. And a lot of times you see the pictures of Vietnam in the highlands. The country peels off in a hurry from basically the DMZ is where the highlands exist. That was marine country quite a bit, but it goes down to the sea quite rapidly. The area that I had most of the time was kind of what would be the plains, the Great Plains of Vietnam, jungles and rice paddies, and not a lot of hills and terrain. There was hills and terrain, but not much. Really a very rural Vietnam setting, where the villages were just the grass hut type things, and the tin buildings. The indigent people, or the occupants of the area, or the country folks, were pretty much just working people, just just farmers, if you would. Following his water buffalo, sitting through the rice paddies, turning this weird place. Really, really weird. The monsoon season, it would rain. Oh, it would rain for days at a time, not hours. And it would turn all of this ground, this sort of clay that they live on, into mud. I mean, knee-deep mud. I mean, terrible deep mud. And, you couldn't do anything. You couldn't get clean. There was nothing you could do. It was like playing in a mud puddle as a kid. And bad guys liked it because they know we didn't like it, so they bothered us. Summer, once they flipped the switch and the monsoon turned off, that thing turns on and off almost in just a couple of days. It goes from being hot and dry into being soaking wet into being hot and dry. But when it dries out, all of this mud that we were talking about all turns into dry clay dust, and it's blowing around and getting in everything. So, you see, that's where we were, right up on the Cambodian border, minding our own business.
Was there any wildlife or insects or birds?
Oh, yeah, there was always the wildlife in the jungle. They had all the jungle animals there. I never really saw any of the big ones. I've seen the big snakes and stuff, but bugs, they had beetles the size of a drink coaster. And they'd holler at you. They would actually make noise at you. And then they had lizards. They had this lizard, they called the fuck you lizard. Because they'd sit at night, fuck you. And you'd hear them all night and you'd shine a light on, fuck you. Yeah, sir, the old fuck you lizards. Sorry about that.
Oh.
Sorry, Congress.
Would you tell me the story about the snake?
Oh, yeah, the snake story. My wife's best one. As I say, we were doing snooping and pooping around the Cambodian border. Our work schedule was usually a 4-day schedule, sometimes a 3 or 4 day schedule. We'd fly, we'd do maintenance, we'd do another mission, and then we'd be off. And it was staggering through. We didn't fly every day. So anyhow, this particular mission I pulled was to go with the crew out, and they were looking for a guy coming down the Ho Chi Minh Trail. And they knew he was going to be there. They figured he was going to show up. Some other intelligence reports said that he was going to be there and everything else. So to set the stage, the vegetation in Nam would be a lot like our bushes where they all grow together, lilac bushes where they all wrap around each other. So the limbs of the trees are probably all separate branches, but they're all intertwined. Well, this particular tree I was up on was about 12, 15 foot off the ground, probably 3 foot around. It was my watch. I came on at 3 in the morning, I believe, right around there. I think I was going 3 to sunup. Got my binoculars. I'm sitting up there on this limb looking down through the binoculars down this trail. And just, the normal bugs and mosquitoes and all this stuff. So I'm laying there just before sunrise, and I kind of get a blur in my eyes. What the heck, Well, I'd been in the country quite a while at the time, so nothing really bothered me, but I get this blur, and I went, so I kind of take the binoculars down, rub my eyes, put them back up. I'm still looking down this trail. Well, it happens again. I take the binoculars and I set them down, and I reach over to get my canteen that was on my belt to throw some water in my eyes. And this big ass black snake, it was about the size of a Greyhound bus, was coming down, and I was in his way. He was coming from the outside of the branches towards the trunk. And it was just sitting up there looking at you and trying to get around. Well, he scared the living crap out of me. I let out a holler and fell out of the tree. So, boom, I go down, I fall right across the machine gunner's legs. Okay. Everybody is kind of drowsy and sleeping and all this. I fall across his legs. He starts blasting. Everybody else starts blasting. Where they at? Who is he? Where is he? I don't see him. Where's he at? Where's he at? And he said the only thing they remember is I was laying down on my back, pointing up in the tree. There's a snake. There's a big-ass snake up in the goddamn tree. But, well, that was one of the funny ones. Mm-hmm. Scared the living bejesus out of me. I don't mean to tell you, but I'll bet you that, in all honesty, I'll bet that snake was the size of a boy's arm or wrist, probably the size of my wrist today. But of course, when he's right in your face, he looks like he could eat you. Mm-hmm. Especially a city boy. After I peed myself to death. I'm sorry. Yeah.
So, were you in a combat zone?
Yes.
Could you tell me some of your recollections of that?
It's not something you want anybody to do. It's a terrible thing. It's a terrible place to be. And in reality, it's you know, you go in and you think you're John Wayne, but really you're a little kid. And to take a little kid and turn him into a combat soldier, let alone a combat veteran, in just a short period of time, it's mind-wrenching. I had been in country, my first tour, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. I was riding in on a convoy. We were at a bridge right outside of Fuquin, and narrow one lane road bridge, load limits on it, all this. So everybody is backed up, waiting like a big toll gate to get over this bridge. Well, I had to lose the latrine. I had to go. There was no doubt about it. So I was riding with these guys in the Jeep. I'm going back there and find a tree. Well, I walk around the corner, go back into the whereas I'm trying to find a tree someplace. I don't know, I'm trying to be polite or something back then. You know, I come right out of civilization. I'm trying to find someplace to be discreet, and I walk around the building, and a bad guy was on the other side of the building, and he come around. You know, we met eye to eye. And he brought his rifle up, and I was carrying a shotgun. And he was bringing his up, and I brought mine down, and I blasted him. Just dropped him right where he was at. And I remember him looking at me, looking down at where I hit him, and looking up with a look as to say, "What the hell did you do that for?" You know. And then he dropped. Well, I thought the whole Vietnamese army was coming after us. I didn't know what was going on. I was so scared. I'd been carrying shotguns for my whole life, hunting and everything. I couldn't get another round in the chamber. I ran back to where the other guys were. Ooh, gooks aren't, you know, all this. There was a buck sergeant, I remember, was driving the Jeep. He said, "What?" You know, and he says, "Gook, I think I'll live," you know. Not even able to get the words. Okay, I'll go take a look. And he goes around there. And I don't remember if there was any other firings in that. And he come back around. Might have been another round or two fired. I don't know. And he come back around and he threw this guy's rifle at me. And he says, "Here, he doesn't need it anymore." And I'm sitting there holding this thing. And it's like, okay, what did you just do, right? And it was so fun. I'm sitting there. "We report this. What do we got?" You know. And with that, some butter bar little lieutenant comes walking. So what's all this shooting going on back here? Well, you know, nothing. The kid just broke his cherry, and everybody within earsight was laughing at me, just laughing like I was a chump. Yeah. And I'm thinking, 2 weeks ago, if I did this in Chicago, I'd be on a homicide. I would have killed this guy. And here, it's a fucking joke. These guys are laughing at me because this is the first time I shot at somebody and got him. And it really scared me. I mean, it troubled me a long time. That ghost followed me for many, many years, the PTSD stuff. And finally I was able to get that shook out, but there were other incidents later, but that particular one, I mean, it was just, I guess if they didn't laugh at me so much, if it wasn't such a joke, it would have been bad. But when they laughed at me, it was real bad. Kind of, I don't know, gang initiation or something, but yeah, sure, everybody shoots somebody around here. Oh, what? Hey, you had a rifle, you shot him, big deal. Let's go. Where are we going? Breakfast. I mean, it's just so what? That's where a lot of this comes. Like I say, it don't mean nothing. It is what it is. And that's how you had to live. Didn't like that at all. Still don't. His rifle's over in the museum, if I'm not mistaken. I didn't even wander around the house. Damn guy. Bad. Whose worst day? Probably worst. Probably. There were a lot of bad days, but getting laughed at for doing that, I guess that hurt. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah, it does. It's a weird juxtaposition. It seems it's like a surreal.
Oh yeah, it was just, yeah.
I'm so sorry that happened to you.
Well, no, it happened to everybody. It happened to everybody. This isn't a, oh gee whiz, feel bad for Bob. It's just that Bob felt bad for Bob. And that goddamn ghost, he stuck with me for, let's see, we're 50 years out of there, probably every bit of 40, 45 years. I just shook him off not that long ago through some mental help. There were other incidents where we were shooting at people and things were going on and that, and did I hit somebody? I don't know, probably. Did I care? Not at all. But you don't want to put people into that position. You got to do what you got to do. And next question.
Now, how did you know the difference between the South Vietnamese, so the good guys and the bad guys? How could
bad guys are usually shooting at us.
Okay.
They were all the same. The people of the country, the craftsmen, the tradesmen, they treated everybody equal. It was kind of a strange situation. Naturally, the black pajama guys with the guns were the bad guys. But when you're in the village during the day, if you didn't see them, or if Uncle Ho's child was NVA or something, if it wasn't for the uniforms, you wouldn't tell one from another. It was just another village until something come out of it and they shoot at you, and then that was unfortunate for the village, whichever village it was. Yeah.
How did the South Vietnamese treat Americans?
Civilians liked us somewhat, or they tolerated us. They made a lot of money off of us, hell of a lot of money, more money than they'd ever seen in their world. And to us, it was just chump change. You know, we'd have a hooch maid that did laundry and stuff when we were in the base camp areas. She might get $5 a week or something, you know. And hell, we had money we know what to do with over there. You couldn't spend it fast enough. So they liked it. And You know, they had a whole class of workers, you had a whole class of barmaids, you know, the boom boom girls and all this. And it was a wartime economy for them. So I don't think they really hated us, but they didn't understand it. They didn't understand what we were doing there. But in their country, they'd been fighting forever. The French were over there for, 20 or 30 years, colonializing the place, until the French finally got their ass kicked someplace in the late 50s, early 60s. And, I think they were just people that had always been, I don't want to say taken advantage of, or, probably taken advantage of. Their claim to fame was Michelin rubber trees all over, big plantations of rubber trees, both in the central highland, or central lines where we were, and then down in the transitionary between, kind of like on the plains and the delta. Delta was a pigsty, but that's just all swamp. But Michelin Rubber planted these trees, or whoever, rubber company, forever. And man, you don't hurt those rubber trees. You don't mess with those trees. You don't even hold a war in those plantations. So they'd been colonialized and taken advantage of forever. So.
How did your wartime experience change you?
Maybe the perfect gentleman I am today. Well, I guess it made me respect life, respect freedom. We shouldn't have been there. We were doing things we shouldn't have been doing and all this. It made me question why we do things as a country. If we're fighting for our sovereignty, that's one thing. If we're fighting for somebody else's rubber trees, that's a different story. I don't want my friends to have to go away from home for a year to take care of your garden. Your garden, you do it, not me. Fighting communism, we can go back in history and read forever the writings and things. We're fighting it today. We're fighting the very same attitudes today that we were fighting then. Heck, Bernie Sanders was just on there today, just on there when I was driving over, talking about such a division of wealth and prosperity in the country. Well, Bernie, get a job, But back then it was, communism, they're going to take over and they're going to do what they're going to do. Governments are going to do what they're going to do. Why the hell waste young guys, Hell, I hope we get robot soldiers. Hey, go on over there and hurt that robot, I'll be the junk man. I'll come in and pick up the... No, it changed me. It changed the way I look at things. It changed how I react to things. It certainly led me into a different path, into a different respect for life, liberty, the pursuit of happiness, all this Superman stuff. But it made it important. I was there, the guy next to me didn't make it one day, and why didn't he make it? Why am I standing and he isn't? They're very close to me, as close as we are here. Parts of him got on me, and I didn't get hurt at all. Why the hell did that happen? Did it happen because I'm supposed to be in the library with you today? I don't know. If the bad guy comes in here and tries to hurt you, I'll take him out with my coffee cup. Because you don't hurt people. You don't hurt my friends, number one. No, you don't go there. But you come in here for no reason and want to hurt you. I'm going to do everything within my old man limits to deter him, to show him the error of his ways. If it means putting his head through glass, the damn window over there, so be it. Wouldn't bother me a bit. That also scares me.
Do you see people differently? Like, I've never been in war. Do you notice a difference between people who have been, and then how do you see me and just regular people who've never had to be in combat?
Well, I see you, and I've known you for a while. You totally understand what you're doing. You understand what this project is about. You understand what giving to the community is about. And I totally respect that, and you know that. I mean, I'm singing to the choir here, but I view you as much a patriot as I view myself. Were you there? No, you weren't even born then. Huh? But today, you want to take the time to learn more about what happened 50 years ago, 55 years ago, 60, whatever it is now from the start. And this is a good thing. Now, another hard one though for me, a very close dear friend of mine ended up going up to Madison the same time I went overseas. I'm sure he was with the SDS, Students for Democratic Society stuff, back when they were blowing up the chemistry lab and stuff. We've joked about this. I know for a fact, and he admitted it to me, that he knew what was going on. He didn't say he was there that night, but he knew what was going on. Have a near dear friend, I mean, we grew up together, to be that polarized, it's really kind of, it was hard to take or something. But I totally respect him for it. Because we sat down and we could talk about it. Yeah. Was he right? Was he wrong? I don't know. I really don't. If he would have went over and been the guy that disappeared next to me, how would the world have changed? Yeah. We're here for some reason. I don't know what it is. I sure hope it's a long time till I figure it out, but no, I don't. What's it gonna be? You know, we see this crap on the television now. Places like Berkeley. Take a look at Berkeley. That was the center. That was the epicenter of free speech. Now, you only have one side of Berkeley. You don't even let somebody from the other side of your equation come in and talk. You know, how is that education? How is that free speech? You know, fill in the blank. We fought for something that they're using against. I don't know, probably not a good choice of words there. We fought for the ability for you as a librarian to say whatever you want. And if you say, Bob, you know, I don't like vets. They're crazy. You know, this, that, the other thing. Yeah, you guys are baby killers. You do this, you do that. That's your opinion. It's not going to hurt me. It's going to hurt me, you know, knowing you. But the only thing you're going to do with that piece of paper to hurt me is roll it up and stick it in my eye, because there's nothing we can do to change anything. So if people want to know, they want to learn, I think I hope every vet in the world comes out and talks about it. There's a lot hidden, awful lot hidden. As we talked before, there's a lot of scar tissue that maybe shouldn't be opened up. But if it is, it is, you know, because it is what it is.
Why, thank you.
Well, no,
Thank you for sharing your story with me.
No, what else can I do for you this afternoon, this morning, wherever we're at?
Okay, I have some more wartime questions, and then we'll start talking about how it ended. What kind of friendships did you form while serving, and with whom?
We didn't have close friendships. Close friendships lead to getting your head in your ass when it shouldn't be. We did have camaraderie. Very, very, very close. The people we worked with were the best there was. As I said, we lived kind of by ourselves, being ghosts. Nobody knew what we were doing, how we were doing, they just knew we were doing something, and everybody left us alone, so they left us alone. We're doing very classified stuff at the time. And you can't go drinking with people if you might mouth off or something. So we never went to clubs. We had our own bars and our hooches and stuff. So those friendships, a couple of the names I know, I've never wanted to see again. We'd been there, we done it, we did it, we done it, we got home. Sure glad you were there, but it's over, So, I don't know, what was the rest of that question? Was that it?
Yeah, that was just,
I mean, it's just
what kind of friendships did you form?
Yeah, there were about 10 of us in the unit. Small unit. I mean, we're talking pilots and intercept operators and stuff. There were very, very few of us. So if anything happened to any one of us, everybody else knew. So you wanted that respect and that camaraderie to know that he was behind you all the way. But I don't think anybody really wanted to form friendships, lasting friendships. It just didn't seem to happen.
Did you call each other by your first names?
Usually, or last name, or a buzzword.
Did you have a nickname?
Yeah, they called me the Wonder. They were trying to. That came up shortly after I got in the country. Something was going on. Oh yeah. And we were right on the Cambodian. Well, anyhow, we were up doing things, right? And some stuff broke out, and I did some really stupid thing. And they were back, and they were trying to report it to the commanding officer, and the guy could not remember my name. And I just, Wonder, that guy, that idiot, he's crazy. And Wonder stuck. And I knew it was Wonder Lean, but it was just Wonder him. He did that. And it stuck, so I've been the Wonder ever since. Only to a chosen few. You can get away with that, but...
I like that, the Wonder.
The Wonder, I don't know what the fuck he was doing. He ran over there, he drove over the son of a bitch. That was a pretty dumb thing I did come to that.
What's that story?
Oh, we were going through a village just on our side of the Cambodian border, and we took some fire from one of the hooches, and I was driving a Jeep at the time. And I accelerated through. Down towards the other end, they start shooting at us out of one of the hooches, so I drove through it. I mean, turned right through the 2 or 3 of them. I mean, chickens flying, stuff going on over. Just nailed it, floored it, went right through this village. And shit flying all over the place, and the vegetables in the baskets, and it God damn it, you're shooting at me, and he just kept right on going. Well, he'd be told that the story got back, that maybe some civilians might have been hurt, we don't know. Well, what the hell happened? You know, well, you know who did? He would, trying to get the blame off of his ass. That Wonder did it. He did it. And he asked me, and I said, I sure did. What are you gonna do about it? You know, send me to Nam without my dependents? Come on. They were shooting at us. I didn't want to shoot them. I drove over them. You know, I wanted to get the hell out of there. I wasn't gonna stop and fight this guy. You know? I haven't thought of that story in many years, but shit flying all over the place.
What were the hooches like? Could you describe?
A lot of bamboo and a lot of tin. Can you imagine like a beer can before it's formed into a beer can, where it's just a 4x8 piece of tin with all the labels on it before it's cut up? There's an awful lot of that, and hooched roofs, thatched roofs. Most of the village was just kindling waiting to go up, and which it did quite a bit at a time. Yeah.
Did you get to go inside any?
No, we went in looking around, yeah.
Was
If there was something inside we were looking for, we went in and looked for it. That was more the recon team that did that. I was in the R&R group doing, but I know our people, a couple of our people would. We went in for a reason. If we were getting radioactivity, intelligence activity, if we're getting signal intelligence from a village, usually there would be 2 teams that would go in, but we knew what we were looking for. We knew the equipment type and the indicators of what we were looking for. And the other guys just knew what the bad guys were. So, yeah, well, there have been a village or 2 that have disappeared from the face of the earth. Caught fire and had the Great Chicago Fire. Sure has happened. Yep.
Was it like a one room dirt
One
floor?
room dirt, this size of our studio here, maybe smaller. If there was any kind of a room divide, it usually was just some rag kind of blanket or something. Very primitive living. Very.
Did they have windows or doors?
It's just basically through the slats, and the doorway was thatched. They were just, I don't know, kind of like tiki huts or something, just made out of whatever was available. Yeah.
So while you were over in Vietnam, how did you stay in touch with family and friends?
Well, the U.S. mail, of course, and that was sparse. And then there was a thing called MARS, the Military Affiliate Radio Service, excuse me, where you'd make ham radio calls back and, hi, how you doing, over, and that kind of conversation. That was probably the primary link. If you get into Saigon or Tan Son Nhut, there were a couple of phone circuits. There were public phone circuits that you can get on and make a call, but they worked them out half at a time, maybe. Barry Goldwater was heavy into that. A politician from back in the 60s. He was a radio operator in the States and made how many thousands of calls for the vets and ran them through. It's not like today where they FaceTime and they, get out their phone and, hi, hon, how's you doing? The baby cried today. There are people that got home didn't even know they had babies, Of course, they might not have been started when they left, but anyhow, that's a lot of changes,
Did you get any letters or packages that you recall?
Yeah, letters. The letters. After the first month or 2, the letters start to dwindle. I guess that's just a natural thing. With that age group and everything that was going on. So, Yeah, I got letters the first few months. After that, it dwindled quite a bit. It was like once a month by the time I was getting off my first tour. And then after the first tour, it was just, everything was done, and I'd get some letters from home. I did get a funny one, though. Did get a real funny one. We're getting ready to go into Cambodia. And we're up there working, doing things up in that area because we were never there. And wrote my dad and says, "Hey, if you don't hear from me for a couple of weeks, don't worry. We're just there's something big coming on." Now this whole thing, this invasion of Cambodia, was so classified. If you talked about it, you'd end up in the brig. If you dreamt it, you better call up and apologize. So another week passes, and I get this big vanilla envelope from my dad. And he says, "Dad, don't worry about it. We know you're going into Cambodia." And he had all of the clippings from the Tribune, about the first camp prevents it, and all this stuff. And, wait a second. We're here and we can't talk about it. And you're sending me clippings from the Chicago Tribune? What's wrong with this picture, That was just some more of that government stuff, But, and yeah, we went there, but that was this big one. And then another one I got, it was a package from a friend, and there was a toothpaste tube in it, or there was a toothpaste box in it. And some of that stuff was not hard to come by, but difficult to come by, So I went to open up this toothpaste box because I needed it. And it was a small bottle of Kahlua in it. Because he knew I liked Kahlua, and it was just, God damn it, I don't want Kahlua, I want toothpaste. So, yeah.
And how are you doing? I have some more questions.
Keep right on going. I got all the time you're using up that clock pretty big.
Okay, good. Thank you.
No, as long as you want to go, kid, I'm in favor of you. You're doing a hell of a good job.
Thank you. You too. A couple more questions about wartime. What did you do for recreation when you were off duty?
Drank heavily.
What did you drink?
A lot of beer, a lot of whiskey. Jack Daniels was pretty popular. But there was a lot of drinking going on. A lot of people, not in our unit, we were the goody two shoes, top shelf, get slapped on the wrist for doing anything bad. But there was a lot of drug use over there, and just in general. Marijuana, pot was floating through the air all the time. I mean, it was just almost like the smell of burning the cans, which was always a terrible job. But a lot of people stayed high. They just stayed stoned. Not in my group, but just in general. You'd see them, they'd have the 10,000-mile stare. They'd just sit there and they'd look and look. And you knew they were going to crack. They were going to do something. They might go out hunting that night. It's hard to say, But withdraw, you just you get in. But that was about it. We just drank, worked and drank. I never thought of it that way, but.
What was burning the cans? What does that mean?
That's the shit burning detail.
Oh.
You really want to know about this?
Sure.
Okay. Well, naturally we didn't have plumbing, so they always had outhouses in most of the bases, and sometimes it was just a shelf sitting up over a sawed-off 55-gallon drum. Okay, and the waste goes in there. And we had to dispose of the waste. So every morning, somebody would be assigned to haul those drums out from the outhouse or wherever they were and fill them up with diesel fuel or JP4 or something and set them on fire and stir them until all the material was gone, was turned to dust. I'm going to tell you about the smell when we come into country. That was the smell. And it just stick with you. And I just burn in the buckets. Yep. But it had to be done. I mean, it is what it is. You know, you take one, you got to do something with it. And it was a random pick. It was almost like flip the coin. Well, okay, Jennifer, it's your turn, you know. Go burn the buckets, you know. You're hitting on some things back there. Huh?
Interesting. Do you recall any particularly humorous or unusual events?
It was one Christmas Eve where there was alcohol involved in this one. You have to understand. I believe it was my third tour. And I was drunk. On Christmas Eve, you know, when the USO and all these people are coming and going and all this stuff. Well, I had a good snort on and I decided I've had enough of this war. I'm going home. So I went out and found a truck that wasn't locked up and took off driving towards the gate. I was going home. I've had it. I'm leaving. I pull up to the gate. Now I'm backlighting the guards and everybody. Oh, they never do that. My God, they're all targets and stuff there. What the turn the light? Yeah, all this stuff. Boom, boom, boom. You know, beat on it. Get out of here. The guard sergeant of the guard. Come over. I just had the US's and stuff. I didn't have rank on, so he didn't know really who the hell I was. Get out of the truck. Well, what are you doing? Well, I'm going home. He said, you're doing what? I said, man, I've had enough of this. I'm going home. He says, have you really thought this through? I said, yeah, I can't get enough fuel in a helicopter to make it. So I figured if I drive, I could stop someplace. Drunk on busted on my mind. That doesn't sound like a good plan. Long story short, I go to the provost marshal's office, and the top sergeant had to come down and get me out. And it's like, wonder, what the hell were you thinking? I said, I don't know. I was going to go home.
It was Christmas.
It was, yeah, I've had it with this, you know. I've been here too long. I'm getting out of here. You idiot, get back. Nobody ever got in trouble for anything over there. I mean, it just never happened. Where are you going? I'm going home. You're doing what? Have you thought this through? Yeah, I guess so, you know. That was probably the humorous one. There must have been some other ones that were funny, but yeah. Humor in that place never really made it. I mean, there was always something bad behind it. Next question.
Was there anything that you did for good luck?
I don't think it was so much good luck, but I made sure that my weapons were clean, my knives were sharp, that when I got in the bird every day, that I had what I was going to do. My mind was set on the mission, and I knew that I was very good at what I did. Very, very good at what I did. So I was just in tune to making sure that nobody had to look after me, that I could look after me. And if you needed something, I was there to help you. But I hope that you were able to look after you. You know, did you say your prayers in the morning? Did you do whatever this? Everybody prays over there in one way or another. It was never I got down on my knees and prayed type thing, but I tell you, I did have little quiet conversations, you know, see me through, and I hope today's a good day. By the second and third year, it is what it is, you know. We're gonna get in this thing, either we're gonna crash today or we're gonna be back. Fortunately, we didn't crash. So.
And then, before we get into the end of the war, what would you say was the best part of your service experience?
Getting out.
Okay.
No, I was fortunate enough to be in a very good unit. I love to fly, and I was able to fly backseat. We took the intelligence equipment up, and we were flying around looking for radio transmitters. So about every third day or so, I would fly all day. I enjoyed that. It was an experience. I can't take and put my finger on any good part. I can put my finger on a lot of bad parts. Who's picking on me? Excuse me. Let me beat this thing. I bet you it says potential scam.
Mm-hmm. Probably. That's usually.
Send message. Go away. All right. There. Now you shut up. Okay. At least that was a legitimate call.
That's good.
But we'll get back to them.
Mm-hmm.
So, the best part of getting out, I don't know, looking at the gate in the rearview mirror. It's just, I was going to stay in. I was going to be a lifer. I had pretty much set my mind on it that I was going to make the service a career. After my third tour, they sent me back to Aberdeen Proving Grounds for a couple of months to work there. Didn't have any time to go anyplace else, just work out your enlistment. They sent me there as an instructor. I could handle instructing quite well. And not in the field I was working, but, you know, doing this. And was in line to get a warrant, to be a warrant officer. Oh, you got the next one, you get the next one. You enlist, you stick your hand up. You get the next one coming down. Well, I had seen a lot of the next one coming down, and it never happened. So, right up until the morning I left, I remember John Prey was his name, was a major. I worked for him. And I said, come on, Major, give me the orders, slip me the orders, write them down, put them on a napkin, I don't care. My hand's going up. You know, I can't do that, Bob. You know, you got the next one. Trust me. Trust me, and the Porsche's paid for about the same. So I left, and I don't know if I regret it or not. It was a good life. It was a bad life. It was a good life. It was the military life that I fully understand and that I'm comfortable with. Ainsley goes crazy when we go over to the VA hospital. I understand that place like that. Yeah, sure, because that's all military. It's how military operate. You know, go deck 3, boom, bang, boom. You know. Yeah, I wish I would have stayed in, I guess, but woulda, coulda, shoulda, and what would have happened? And the next time out, I got dead or whatever, and who knows? Then I wouldn't have met you and been doing your library stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Do you recall the day that your service ended and where you were?
I was coming out of Aberdeen. That was the story we just had. And actually, my car was already packed. Driving a 71 Ford station wagon. Had on-post housing by then. I was living there. And loaded up, I had cleared post. And I went and seen John. And I said, come on, Major, give it to me, you know? I don't want to do this. And, sorry, he says, you know, it's yours to have, but you gotta, you have to have more time on your enlistment. The last thing I wanted to do was take another 4, not knowing. Looking back, I was being groomed. I was, just the way everything was going, I was being groomed. But, yeah, left there, and he said, last thing I remember about that is looking out the mirror, and the base was leaving in the rearview mirror, and that was the end of it.
Did you have the radio on?
Yeah, it was probably radio on. Hard to say. Gypsy or one of those was probably playing something like that, from that era. I used to go to work in the mornings. I was only there for a couple of months. But I'd listen to WLS in the morning, because that was a clear channel radio station, and AM station, and you could hear it quite well before the sun comes up. Right in that gray line period where signals reflect. And I remember listening to that in the mornings and then going to work. And, telling some young lieutenants how to keep their ass down for a while. You're going to see this and you're going to see that, and this might happen and that might happen. Find yourself a good sergeant and listen to him. At least your first month.
What was that day do you remember the date when you drove away?
No, I don't.
Or the time of year?
It was summerish. I don't remember the date for sure. Because then I had another commitment to do time, and ready reserve and stuff. I don't remember the date.
Okay.
I probably should know.
So you went in 1968?
67.
Oh, 67 you went in.
Went in 68, 69, 70. It was in 71 sometime.
In the early 70s. Okay.
Yeah.
Did you go home then? Did you drive home?
Yeah, we drove through to, the marriage was still going. So, yeah, we drove through and came back to the Chicago area and started to try to return to being a human.
How were you received by your family and your community?
Family well, community indifferent, but work was a strange one. I remember I told you I went to work for the phone company doing this PBX work. Well, I was an apprentice when I went in, and in the phone company, in the Electrical Workers Union, while you're in the service, your time goes on. It's just like you're there. So when I came out of the service, I was a journeyman electrician PBX installer. But I had only had maybe a year of training of really how to do this. And some of my coworkers really resented the idea. Number one, that I was a journeyman all of a sudden, but number two, that I would ask them for help. How the hell do you do this? What is this, Well, if you weren't out playing soldier, you would know. And this kind of older crap. And that troubled me a bit, but hey, it is what it is. I can see why. That was a lie. I went from about no pay to fairly good journeyman electrician pay overnight. It's just that I didn't know what the hell I was doing. That was a learning curve. That was a rough year coming up, and so trying to get up to speed. But then again, my personal abilities, I was able to view, to see what was going on. And got over that, but there was a certain amount of hostility. And of course there was all the street hostility and stuff.
What were some day-to-day things that had changed from when you left until you came back?
The fashions, women's fashions. I said about halfway through they went to the hot pants and stuff, and then the mini skirts. And I think the women's lib movement was taking hold. Not so much that it was a big change or anything, but women were getting into the trades and things where you hadn't seen them 4 years before. And quite honestly, the minorities were getting in the trades. And not good or bad, but the things that used to be the trades where somebody had to die, you had to be, put in, had undergone some very serious changes in the way they selected their employees, their apprentices. Not so much for the good, I don't believe, but there again, that's the old guy in me.
How did you readjust to civilian life?
Drank a lot. You see
Before, during, and after.
It was hard. I stayed by myself quite a bit. Probably much as you know me today. My friends are my friends, and anybody else is welcome to be my friend if they want to. If not, I don't give a damn what happens to you. And I think that attitude followed me back, and I don't know if it's maybe what I am, if it's good or bad, but it is what it is, And so the transition was very rough for a lot of people. It was rough for me. Had the ghost was bothering me in the night dreams and things. And my wife could not understand that. Kathy, first wife, could just, could not comprehend any of that. She had come from a totally liberal family, and how dare you go to war and all this stuff. And knowing today what was going on then, if I would have had my head out of my ass enough to view what was going on. I think this is a mistake, folks. But we all made those mistakes. We got out of high school. We tried to start families or whatever we could if you didn't go to college. And coming up on the west side, nobody went to college. My God, that cost money and things. Next trick was get married, get pregnant, get a deferment. If you get married and nothing else happens, then the deferment doesn't come, and voila, you have 19-year-old guys running around, bazillion dollars worth of equipment, shooting up the place, and you have all the young women who've had a little bit of experience, and now all of a sudden hubby's gone, and they're all 19, 20, 21. They're all horny as can be, so they're out in the bars, and this thing is not going to work out, folks, Of course, looking at it today, you can see it. Looking at it then, why are you cheating on me? That period of time destroyed a lot of people. Made a lot of people grow. I wish we could do it today. I wish we had the draft.
I wonder if we ever will again.
Not until we're attacked. I don't think that's likely to happen in my lifetime. Of course, I wouldn't want to see the guys that would attack us when the Vietnam vets found out about it. That would not go well for them. I guarantee you it would not go well. I can pretty well guarantee that 90% of the vets of that generation, of the mindset, will not let that happen. I don't care how old I am, I can still shoot. I might not be able to run and jump anymore, but I can sure hide behind a rock and pop somebody, So.
Now, I don't know much about this, but did the GI Bill support your education?
Yes, it did.
How did that work?
Once you come out, you can pick an educational process. For instance, if you wanted to be, a doctor, and you come out and you can get into doctor, so you apply to VA and say, I want to get my doctorate in internal medicine. Boom, you got it. Full ride, whatever you need until you do that. But they were tricking a lot of people back then. And they would say, okay, what do you want to do? Well, I'd like to be a welder. And this happened to a guy that was a welder on a ship. And he said, I'd like to get my certification as a welder and all this. And I said, okay, and he got his certification as a welder, and 6 months later he was an apprentice welder and all this. Well, he could never go back to school on the VA because they had fulfilled their part of the contract. They sent you to school to be a welder. I went in and I said, I'd like to get a master's in criminology. And from then on, just about everything I did was paid for. If it was on that career path or not, but I didn't have my master's yet. So, yeah, it was good. It was very good, and it really took. It was payback to all the people of my status, which is kind of a strange word, but a working class guy to say, okay, you go do this, and then we'll do this for you. We will give this to you. And for the most part, they did. We had that. We had the VA bill for housing. Got back, and we needed a place to stay. I went and saw a fellow that I know who owned apartment buildings, and says, "Hey, I need an apartment to rent." Well, rent a building. Well, meet me over at such and so. I was over in Oak Park. I went off of East Avenue, one of the big old houses. This was a 2-flat with an illegal in the basement with a father-in-law apartment down in the basement. So it was really a 3-flat and room to go 4 up in the attic that I never did. So look at all this, and it's nice. It's got the nice woodwork and things. And I said, the guy's here. I says, how much? What's the rent? We'll take it. He said, not going to rent it to you. I said, what the hell are we doing here? He said, will you like it? I said, yeah, but if you're not going to rent it to me, he says, no, I'm not going to rent it. I'm going to sell it to you. You're going to do what? I can't afford this. The hell you can't afford it. What's the matter with, And he got me underneath the wing, and he's, no, here's your VA certificate, and you got to do this, and the other thing, and you get the mortgage. And that was my first 3-flat. That set me on a road to having apartment buildings and stuff. I never expected to buy the damn building. I expected to be living, But here's somebody put me under the wing, and the VA covered the bill. Of course, they don't run down the street telling everybody that. They just know, you got your VA certificate, okay, so we'll make the down payment this much, and we'll do this, that, the other thing, and so I'll carry the mortgage, and boom, bang, you're a property owner. Which was good. Would never happened without it.
How did service change you?
It took me from being mild-mannered. Forced me to grow up. Forced me to be a man instantly and not transition into it. I had a period of teenage childhood, running around, street racing, doing all this stuff. But the ones that followed that through, by the time I got back, my feet on the ground in the States, I had been so far beyond these people that I didn't know them. So, yeah, it changed. It changed me a lot. It changed my outlook, and we've talked about that. But it forced me to understand what it's all about, how this all really kind of fits in, for the good or the bad. But It was an experience. I have no doubt about it. I'm glad I did it in Nam and not over in Europe someplace in the trenches. In the First and the Second World War, and Korea and that stuff. I mean, they had it really bad. So, at least I think they did. I wasn't there, but I would much rather muck around in 90-degree weather than have my feet froze off in a trench in Germany someplace. That doesn't sound like any fun at all. So.
None of it does to me. It sounds really hard.
But we've done it. Every generation has put out their warriors. As we probably should. Are we the centurions of the nation? I don't know. Maybe we are. Maybe we're supposed to be guarding the gate. Maybe my position, maybe I'm still here because I'm one of the centurions that guard the gate. I don't know. That's not a hurrah for Bob or anything, but you're not going to mess with my gate. You're not going to do this. And maybe that's why I'm still here.
Well, thank you.
Well,
Thank you for guarding us.
No, yeah, I'm just rambling.
It's a necessary thing.
I'm just rambling.
Okay, so a few more questions. How did service affect the way that you relate to others? Relating to others, I don't necessarily like others. I've never really liked people since I've come back. If I'm working for somebody and they tell me to do something, I'm gonna do it. But then again, if you're working for me and I tell you to do something, you're gonna do it. I don't want any, how come? Because I told you to do it, all right? So my social skills as far as, I don't want to say business. Well, yeah, business. What do we do business? Our building got hit down here a couple of years ago. Oh, we might do this. No, we're not going to might do that. We're going to do this. Okay. And I've always been able to, shoot from the hip, but know what I'm doing, not make big mistakes. So, I know, it just changes. It's just the way, it's the way you look at everything. It's the way you look at your library. We've had this discussion about the bond issue and stuff. This is the best thing this town has done since I've been here. And I've been living here, 45 years. There shouldn't have been a question about that. But one side sees it, oh my God, who needs it? And the other side says, well, we need it. And I know we need it. I'm not smart enough to know everything that's the other side of this door, but I can get the answer to just about anything I want in this building. If not, I go see my friend Jennifer and say, hey, look at, where do I go to find this? Okay. And we have to maintain a way of finding this without it being modified, changed, edited, editorialized, fill in the blank, whatever the word is. I tell you like it is. I don't expect this tape is going to be altered. We've talked about that. Am I a good guy? Today I am. Was I a good guy then? Not necessarily. The thing that got my nickname. I mean, just driving over a guy's house? Come on, Bob, what the hell's the matter with you? Seemed like the right thing at the time. I don't know if I hurt anybody or not that day. I really don't give a damn. So, I don't know, I'm babbling. You got me on the babbles now, kid. You're good. Did you join a veteran organization?
No.
Okay. And do you attend reunions?
No.
No. Okay. How did your military service experiences affect your life?
Well, I'd say they made me who I am. They changed my outlook on a lot of things and really cemented my outlook on a lot of things. It took me from being a kid on the west side into being somewhat of a man that knows where I'm heading and what I'm doing. So,
How do you think your life would have been different if you hadn't been drafted?
I woulda, coulda, shoulda. I mean, would I have been a machinist working in that plant down in the city, down to 1111? Might have. I could do it. Let's see, a good answer to that. My education when I was coming up on the west side, I don't want to say I was a delinquent, but we weren't the smartest people in the world. And we were treated as not the smartest people in the world. In the service, you're not treated as a dummy. You're treated as what you're capable of doing. So I said, we took those tests and things, and the guy says, hey, you are going to be good here. And I was very, very good there. I never thought of being good there. There's another fellow you know, and I'm not going to mention his name on here, who's a restaurateur, or has been. And he went in the service and took these tests, and they said, you should be a baker or cook. I said, I don't know anything about this. Well, they sent him through culinary bakers, mess sergeant school. And he enjoyed it, he loved it, and he ran a very successful business for many years here. I want to get you talking to him. We'll talk when this thing's turned off. But there's another example. He didn't know what the hell he was going to do, And bang, I said, oh, you're a cook. He said, I'm not a cook. What are you talking about? Quite successful one. So, I don't know. I think service is good. I'd say maybe we should have the draft. Maybe we should do what the Israelis do. Let the kids get out of high school, take the summer off, and then go in the service for 2 years. Learn your discipline, learn everything, learn who the hell you are, and then go to college. Have a whole different outlook on it.
What are some life lessons you learned from your military service?
Never volunteer. Second one, knowing not one is there, never volunteer twice. No, cross between follow instructions and follow your gut. Do what is right. And which is kind of hard because we've got orders to do something that's not right, but do what you have to do. And everything will be fine. It'll work out. Everything will be just fine. Yeah, I think that would be about it. I can see some stories where it was and it wasn't. That's getting off on a tangent. We'll talk about it over coffee someday.
Okay.
But things that have been prosecuted that shouldn't have been. But that's a whole different world.
How has your military service impacted your feelings about war and the military in general?
Well, we need a strong military. We definitely have to have the strongest defense system in the world. Nobody can be better than us. Because when you're the top dog, nobody wants to take you on. If they do, they know they're in for a fight. I think that the military is a fantastic organization. Now, with that said, would I want your kid to go into the military? We'd have a long conversation, but it would be the child's decision. You know, in my thing, it was like my uncles and my dad had made up my decision. I wasn't going to Canada. You can't chicken out. You've been called, you gotta go. That was my era. That's not today. So, I think the military is fine. I think we should give them all the money they need. We should get all this DEI crap out of it. Get all of the merit promotions and stuff out of the way. That again was one of the reasons why I got out, but that's a whole different conversation. And go on. We have to be the toughest there is. I gotta be the toughest guy in the room or someone's gonna beat me up. So,
What message would you like to leave for future generations who will hear this interview?
well, if we're doing anything like we've done when I went in, which we're not now, we have an all-volunteer service. That's good and bad. Good side is we get to pick and choose who we get. Bad side is real good people might not come on board. Not necessarily good. It's a good life. It's a very good life if you can follow orders and you understand what you're doing. You understand that you're a little piece of pie, but you're also an important piece of the pie. I don't know if I would suggest they go in or not, but I suggest that they take a very good look at it and go back and do some real soul searching. You will come out a man or a woman or whatever. You know, you are not going to come out the same. There is no way in hell you're going to come out the same. I happen to think you're going to come out better, and I don't know what student X over here is going to do, but I guarantee you, if he's a normal run-of-the-mill senior in high school, I can take him into the service and make him a much better man. And then what he does after the service is up to him. With that said, it's to a lot of people it's very easy to hang on the service, to say, oh, I did this and I'm disabled and I'm this and I'm the other thing and all this crap. Don't dwell on it, deal with it. I know you didn't ask, but I'm 100% disabled.
Yeah,
And, you know, I've been shot up a few times and my hearing's gone, mostly from wearing his super loud headphones on it, but, you know, it's really because of Agent Orange, but that's a whole different subject. But I don't dwell on that. I don't, you know, it is what it is. It's not, oh my God, I did this and they, you know, no, I did this and the result of that is this. A lot of them didn't come out 100% disabled. A lot come out in the black sleeping bag, and this is not good. I mean, you can't dwell on the bad part. You have to dwell on the good part. Service is a good place to be. Now I'll get hit by lightning. I don't know about the Space Force, though. I don't know what the hell those guys are doing, but it's hard enough to believe that we had the Navy, but somebody had to bring the boat.
Is there anything you'd like to add that we've not covered?
No, I think that the project is good. We've talked about that. There are a lot of veterans out there with a lot of scars. And to be able to talk about it in a non-judgmental atmosphere is very good. I think will be good to some of the vets. You're not going to reach a lot of them. A lot of them are not reachable. They live under bridges and everything else, and they will never be right. And that's not good. That's a bad thing. It's a very bad thing. But it is what it is. A lot of people come back from all of the wars, any war, not just NOM or that, who are badly troubled by what they did. Very badly troubled. And some of them are never going to make it home. They're just not going to make it back. We have to know that and go on and not point at them. But it's almost like, I don't want to say we have to forget them, but we have to let them handle their demons in their own way. And if living underneath a bridge and panhandling is it, so be it. I can't fix it. If I could, I'd wave my magic wand and everybody'd be living in nice houses and stuff. Now, there isn't a good thing going on. We're just rambling. But this tunnels to towers thing where they're buying the hotels and putting the vets in them and things. You see it on television.
Yeah.
Government should be doing it. Uncle should be doing that.
Mm-hmm.
That shouldn't be outside. But here we have veterans taking care of veterans, as it should be. You know, and I think it's a good thing all the way around. It is what it is. And I can't get him out from underneath the bridge. Maybe he doesn't want to come up underneath the bridge, and that's it. You know. How can you change?
Is there anything you've always wanted to share about your service or veteran experience that you never have?
Not really. I just never go and see a recruiter drunk. It was good. There's a lot that's coming out now. As I said, I had the ghost in me for years, and until it was recognized that it was there. And I knew there was something bothering me, but I didn't really know what it was. And then once it came out and everything was done, and I talked to the right people and had the right treatment, had the right conversation, it all made sense. Yeah. Let's get back to that Patty Page thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's like the first time or second time he was there. I don't know if they were hypnotizing or whatever. They were doing some stuff, and it's, say the first thing that comes to your mind. And the first thing was that song. Is that all there is? And it just, yeah, I mean, it is what it is. How's that, Jennifer?
You brought it full circle.
Well, I hope I did right for you. I hope I did good and we don't have to do this again, but if we do, I'll do it for you.
You did great. I think it picked up everything we said.
About
and
2 hours and 3 minutes of babbling.
It's good. You know, there's no, it's helpful to hear the story. There's no right or wrong in any of it. It's just the more information, the more full of a picture people like me can get in their minds.
The better. I'm going to show you some pictures and stuff of what we're doing. There's some things there. The thing is that all of the veterans, I don't care who the hell they are, did what they had to do. And they shouldn't be blamed for doing what they had to do. It shouldn't be a bad thing. It should, you know, I shouldn't be responsible for driving over a guy's house. That was stupid. But it was a way to get the hell out of there. Now there were firefights and stuff and other things that went bad. But here I got my nickname from driving over a guy's damn house because they were shooting at us. And it's stuff that sticks with you. That's bad is not necessarily bad, and right is not necessarily right, and wrong is not necessarily wrong. You get into those situations and it gets really foggy in a hurry. Really foggy. And you gotta understand that fog that comes from That comes from being relatively young. In my case, not necessarily book smart, but I was a pretty intelligent guy. Nobody knew it when I was in high school, but you know. But you take that and you mill it into something that is totally 180 degrees out of whatever you think is right. And all of a sudden that's right and everything else is wrong. And it's like, what the heck, you know? How can these guys dare laugh at me because I did what I had to do? By the time I was done, I was laughing at the other guys. You know, hey, come on, it just doesn't mean anything. It's the whole idea going between what would have been a homicide 2 weeks earlier was a joke. Man, hard to take, hard to justify, very, incredibly hard to justify. But he can't justify it and I can, so I guess it's good. I can sit here today and talk to you. He can't.
Mm-hmm.
Shit happens. Well, I've answered all your questions, kid.
I think so. You know, any kind of closing thoughts or, you know, something you wish people knew more about veterans, just any kind of closing thoughts.
Yeah, just respect the vets. You don't want anything. Veterans don't want anything special. They want what's due to them. I mean, if you go in and you sign up and it says, you work 20 years, you get out with a pension of 50%. Don't cut that. Don't give them 20 years or don't give them 18 years and then throw them out because you wouldn't take a damn COVID shot. You know, don't do that kind of bullshit. That's no good. But if both sides respect themselves, we should have a very stable country. And hopefully, you know, your grandchildren will never see anything. I don't think that anybody would really want to try us. Don't know if that's going to be true 20 years from now, but I wouldn't want to be the guy who wants to try today. It's going to run into some trouble. It's going to run into Afghanistan. Pakistan ain't going to run into Desert Shield, and all of these veterans are carrying quite a bit of the same baggage. Some people it's mud and jungle, other people it's sand, flies, and fleas. You know, I think I'd take the jungle over the sand, flies, and fleas. You know, I don't know. Do the best you can every day. Say your prayers. Don't kick the dogs. You know. Have a good librarian you can help out with. So, when you're the Library of Congress boss, then we'll know. Press that
We're
red
working
button.
on it.
Press that button over there. Hey, Library of Congress,
Okay.
bye.
Okay, thank you.
Well, you're welcome.